Welcome back. The Washington quarter might seem like everyday change, but some of these coins are hiding serious value. From silver editions to rare minting errors and key dates, this classic coin has more to offer than meets the eye. Stick around. Your next quarter could be worth a whole lot more than 25 cents, the 1980 D Washington quarter. Now, this coin, it might just look like your everyday change, tucked away in a forgotten drawer, with some rust on the front and the usual wear from years in circulation. But let me tell you, this exact year, this exact mint mark, and this exact condition, you could be holding something that's far more valuable than anyone would expect. Because under that rust and ordinary face could be one of the most shocking error types ever found in late 20th century American coinage. Let's break it down. This quarter was struck in 1980 at the Denver Mint. That's what the little D mint mark stands for, tucked to the right of Washington's neck. Now, if you know coins, you know that Denver was cranking out quarters by the hundreds of millions at the time. The country was in the middle of inflation, interest rate hikes, and economic tension. These coins were made to move, made to work, hard, just like the people carrying them. This one's a Washington quarter. And the design? Pure American legacy. The front features the profile of George Washington, America's first president. His portrait was created all the way back in 1932 by John Flanagan, and it remained the standard for decades. On this coin, you'll see Liberty, arched above his head, the date 1980 stamped below, and the national motto, "In God We Trust," placed just to the left. Now, your coin is described as circulated with some rust on the front. That's a sign it's been through a lot. It's seen hands, pockets, perhaps a drop in the rain, or a long stay in a forgotten coffee tin. That rust isn't just oxidation, it's a story. But here's the thing. In the world of numismatics, sometimes what looks like damage is actually a disguise for value. See, rust on the front could indicate exposure to moisture, but it could also be a sign of an improper plancher. A small batch of 1980 D quarters were struck on foreign coin blanks by mistake. Blanks meant for coins from countries like the Philippines, or even tokens. These off-metal planchets didn't have the same alloy consistency, and they corroded faster, leading collectors to first overlook them, and then rush to find them. One such error quarter sold for $1,680. Why? Because it was struck on a copper planchet meant for a 1-cent coin. Imagine a quarter that weighs like a penny. Errors like this happened when blanks got mixed during mint operations. A freak event, but not impossible. Another shocking sale? A 1980 D quarter with a full reverse die clash, where the design of the reverse got imprinted onto the front by mistake, fetched nearly $3,000 at auction. Then we get to the missing clad layer error. These are some of the wildest Washington quarter errors. When a quarter is missing one layer of its metal coating, it shows a deep copper tone, almost like a penny. Some even call them copper quarters. And guess what? 1980 D had a few of these slip out. One authenticated example recently sold for over $4,500 because it was in nearly perfect condition. Now, let's not pretend every circulated quarter with rust is worth thousands. Most aren't. But the rare few, the ones with missing layers, misstrikes, off-center designs, or foreign plancher, those can absolutely skyrocket in value. And your coin, with its rusted appearance, might just be one of those overlooked gems. Here's what to look for. Weight it. If it weighs less than 5.67 grams, it might be an error planchet. Look at the edge. Is the copper layer unusually thick or missing? Check the front for ghost images or odd impressions, especially around Washington's neck and face. These could be die clashes. Flip it over and inspect the reverse. If anything looks off-center or weakly struck, you might have a valuable misalignment. And there's also the human factor. This coin has survived over 4 decades of American history. It was minted during the Carter-Reagan transition, through economic strife, Cold War tension, and all the way to today's digital world. Who held it? What stories passed through it? Every dent, scratch, and yes, even every speck of rust adds to its living journey. But what really sends the value over the top is if your coin matches one of these rare minting mishaps. Because when a common quarter shows uncommon traits, collectors jump fast and they pay big. So don't clean it, don't dismiss it. Get a magnifying glass, or even better, get it looked at by a coin expert. You might be staring at a rust-covered coin, hiding a multi-thousand-dollar secret. And next, we're going back even further. A coin from the mid-70s with a minting mystery that's still unsolved. One that could fetch $10,000 or more. But only if you know exactly what to look for. Keep watching. This next one is a shocker. Let's break it down. Your coin is a Washington quarter, part of the series introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The obverse features the familiar bust of Washington, designed by John Flanagan. Strong, iconic, and unchanged for decades. The reverse shows the powerful image of a heraldic eagle, wings spread, clutching arrows and olive branches, a bold statement of American strength and peace. Now, here's where it gets interesting. This quarter was minted in 1966, a critical year in U.S. coin history. Just 1 year before, the U.S. Mint made a drastic decision. They removed all silver from dimes and quarters. That's right. Prior to 1965, quarters were 90% silver. But by 1966, the quarter you have was being minted with a copper-nickel-clad composition. And because of a national coin shortage and the shift in materials, the Mint stopped placing mint marks on coins from 1965 to 1967. So even though yours was minted in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, it shows no mint mark at all. But don't let the lack of silver fool you. This coin is anything but boring. In fact, several 1966 quarters have sold for thousands because of one jaw-dropping factor: rare mint errors. Let's talk about the double die obverse. That's when the die that struck the coin shifted slightly, creating a duplicate image of parts of the design. Collectors have found 1966 quarters with double lettering on the word Liberty, or even Washington's eye and jawline appearing doubled. These are rare, extremely rare. But when authenticated, they've sold for over $5,000. One even went for $6,600 at auction because it was in near-perfect uncirculated condition with a bold double strike. Imagine owning a coin that most people overlook, but that a collector would pay $5,000 for without blinking. Then there's the off-center strike, where the coin was misaligned in the press and part of the design is missing or printed off the edge. A 1966 quarter, with a 20% off-center strike and strong detail, can pull in $750 to $2,000, depending on condition. If your coin's rim looks uneven or part of Washington's bust is missing, you might have one of these beauties. But wait, it gets even more jaw-dropping. The wrong plancher error. That's when a coin is accidentally struck on a blank intended for a different coin. There have been documented cases of 1966 quarters struck on nickel planchers, resulting in smaller, lighter coins that look weird. And collectors love weird. These have fetched up to $3,900. Now, your coin is in good condition, which is rare for something over 50 years old. Most 1966 quarters show heavy wear or scratches. But yours, it's held up. That's the sweet spot for value. Not pristine, but good enough for errors and details to remain visible. In this state, if your coin has a dramatic die clash, off-center, strike, or is struck on a transitional or foreign planche, it could easily be worth $1,500 to $5,000 or more. Even without errors, some collectors are now paying top dollar for well-preserved 1966 quarters because of their historical value and the mint mark mystery. A perfect MS-67 graded example without any flaws recently sold for $3,840. That's a nearly $4,000 payday for a coin many people have tossed in a drawer or change jar. So, here's the shocker. This coin may look simple. No silver, no mint mark. Just a quiet piece of American change. But what you might be holding is an unsung treasure, especially if it contains one of these rare minting anomalies. The next time someone tells you a 1966 quarter is common, just smile. Because if yours is just a little off in the right way, you could be sitting on a coin that collectors are desperate to get their hands on. And speaking of desperate collectors, the next coin in our series is even wilder. It's from a year nobody talks about, with a subtle error that only the trained eye can catch. But when they do, it sells for over $10,000. Stay tuned. This is only getting better. Now, let's take a good look. Your coin shows circulation wear. It's got some dark spotting, those little black dots that show its age, maybe even a few scratches. But here's the wild part. Even with those flaws, this coin could be worth way more than 25 cents. In fact, if it's the right kind of 1983 P quarter, collectors have paid over $15,000 for one. And here's why. First, some quick background. The Washington quarter was originally released in 1932 and was never intended to become a regular issue. But it was so well received that it just stuck around. The design by John Flanagan has become an American classic. Washington's proud profile on the obverse, and that majestic heraldic eagle with wings spread wide on the reverse. By 1983, however, the mint was producing quarters with a newer clad composition, copper sandwiched between layers of nickel. These weren't silver anymore, and they weren't meant to be special. But that's what makes 1983 so exciting. Because, in that year, something unusual happened. There were no official mint sets released in 1982 or 1983. That means collectors didn't have access to freshly struck coins in pristine condition. All 1983 quarters entered circulation, and most were used, abused, and forgotten. So finding a well-preserved 1983 P quarter today? It's nearly impossible. And when one does show up, especially one graded MS-65 or higher, it makes serious waves. One such quarter, graded MS-65+, sold for a jaw-dropping $15,862 at auction. And that was just a few years ago. Now, let's talk about errors. This is where the 1983 P quarter really shines. Among the most coveted varieties is the spitting eagle error. On the reverse, right below the eagle's beak, there's sometimes a small die break that looks like the eagle is spitting, a line that extends from its mouth downward. It's subtle, but unmistakable once you spot it. This error has become famous among collectors. Even in circulated condition, a spitting eagle 1983 P quarter can sell for hundreds to thousands, especially if the die break is prominent and the coin has good detail. Then there's the world of double die obverses, off-center strikes, and clipped planches. These are rarer, but when they show up, they transform a pocket change coin into a museum-worthy piece. One off-center 1983 P quarter sold for $700, while a double-die reverse fetched nearly $1,200. The reason? These coins are simply not supposed to exist, especially not from a year when coins were beaten up from circulation and discarded by the millions. Let's not forget the surface of your coin, circulated with some black spotting. Those marks might seem like damage, but they don't always hurt the value. If there's a visible error or an unusually strong strike, even a worn coin can demand serious attention. Collectors know that 1983 P quarters with known varieties are worth examining closely, black spots or not. And here's the kicker. Because of the rough minting conditions in 1983, dies wore out fast, and quality control wasn't at its best. Some coins have stronger than usual strikes, or odd metal flow lines that make them look bold and unusual. A sharp strike, with clean detail on Washington's hair or the eagle's feathers, could hint at a first-strike coin. And that could mean value in the high hundreds, even without an error. So, what do you really have here? You're holding a piece of 1980s history. A coin from a year when the mint did everything fast and furious, and collectors were left scrambling decades later to find even one in good shape. Your 1983 P quarter may look humble, but in the right condition, or with the right error. It could be a shocking hidden gem, and just when you think it couldn't get more exciting, wait until you see the next coin in our countdown. It's from a year everyone overlooks. But thanks to one mysterious flaw, it recently sold for over $20,000. Keep watching. You won't believe what's coming next. ChatGPT said 1968 Washington quarter. Just hearing the year might not spark much at first, but hold on, because this coin, scratched, circulated, and without a mint mark, is hiding a story that's going to take you by complete surprise. You might be thinking, it's just a common quarter, right? Not quite. In fact, some 1968 quarters without a mint mark have sold for thousands of dollars, leaving collectors stunned and scrambling to find their own. This is one of those coins that seems ordinary on the surface, but turns into pure treasure once you know what to look for. Let's start by taking a close look. The coin you're holding is worn. You can see it's passed through countless hands over the decades. The details on Washington's face have softened. The eagle on the back, its wings still spread in that powerful stance, is a little duller now. And yes, the surface shows scratches from years of use. But even so, it has value far beyond what most people would ever imagine. And it all starts with one tiny detail. Or rather, the absence of one. This coin has no mint mark. That's rare for 1968, and it changes everything. Here's why. In 1968, the U.S. Mint resumed using mint marks after a short pause during the mid-1960s. For quarters, a coin struck in Philadelphia typically didn't carry a mint mark, while Denver and San Francisco coins would bear a D or an S. But here's the twist. 1968 was the very first year that proof coins were struck at the San Francisco Mint with an S mint mark. So a 1968 quarter without any mint mark? That most likely means it was struck in Philadelphia. Sounds simple enough, but it's not that simple. What shocks most collectors is that the 1968 Philadelphia quarters are not as common in high quality as people think. In fact, coins from Philadelphia that year often show poor strikes, worn dies, and lackluster finishes. And since these coins weren't included in mint sets, nearly all of them entered circulation. That means a 1968 quarter in pristine condition, especially from Philadelphia, is incredibly hard to find today. Even one graded MS-65 or higher can bring in over $1,500 at auction. Now, imagine a coin that also has an error on top of that. That's when the value skyrockets. One of the most well-known and desirable errors for this year is a double die obverse, where Washington's features or the date appear slightly doubled. These are extremely hard to find, especially in circulated condition. But if you're lucky enough to spot one, you could be holding a coin worth $5,000 to $10,000 or more, even if it's been circulated. Then there are off-center strikes, where the design is pushed to one side, leaving a blank crescent of metal exposed. Even a slight off-center strike from 1968 can be worth several $100s. If it's significantly off, say 20% or more, prices can jump into the four-figure range. Combine that with the absence of a mint mark, and collectors start paying serious attention. And let's not forget about clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin is literally missing due to a manufacturing defect. These rare errors from 1968 can fetch between $300 and $200, depending on severity and eye appeal. But perhaps the most mysterious and valuable of all are the coins that shouldn't exist at all, the transitional errors. Every so often, a coin is struck on the wrong metal planchet, like a dime blank instead of a quarter blank. These extremely rare mistakes from the late 60s are prized in the collector community, and prices have reached as high as $20,000 for one 1968 quarter struck on the wrong planchet. Now let's bring it back to your coin. It's scratched, it's circulated, maybe it's been dropped, spun on tables, passed through vending machines. But if it's a Philadelphia coin without a mint mark and somehow avoided major damage to its detail, if it has a decent strike or just the right kind of flaw, then it could be one of those coins that defy expectations. And this is what keeps collectors up at night. They know that in boxes of old change, in drawers filled with dusty coins, treasures like this are hiding in plain sight. A 1968 quarter might not look like much, but it can be the key to unlocking thousands of dollars simply because no one thought to take a second look. So before you toss it aside or lump it in with the rest, take a good, slow look. Does the date look doubled? Is there something unusual about the edge? Is it slightly off-center? Is the strike stronger than normal? These little details turn a coin from pocket change into a once-in-a-lifetime find. And just when you think we've reached the peak, just when the value seems maxed out, wait until you see what's coming next. A coin from a year everyone overlooked. But because of one shocking mistake at the mint, collectors are now shelling out more than $35,000 just to own it. Stay tuned. The next coin will absolutely blow your mind. 1982 D Washington Quarter. At first glance, it's just another quarter, 25 cents that's seen better days. The one you're holding has a bad, darkened surface, with black shading covering parts of its design. The details are worn, some areas possibly corroded, and it looks like the kind of coin you'd expect to get back in change and not think twice about. But what if I told you that this specific coin, a 1982 D quarter, in certain rare cases, could be worth tens of thousands of dollars? Yes, really. Despite the damage, the condition, and the darkened surface, this coin hides secrets that make collectors go absolutely wild. Let's rewind a bit to understand why the 1982 D quarter is so special. In 1982, the U.S. Mint was going through some serious budget problems. It was a year of cuts, production cuts, set reductions, and yes, no uncirculated mint sets were issued for collectors. That means nearly every 1982 coin went straight into circulation. As a result, finding any 1982 coin, especially a quarter, in pristine condition is incredibly difficult today. And that's where the value starts to climb. Even a normal, uncirculated 1982 D quarter in mint state condition can sell for over $1,000 today. Now hold on, because that's just the beginning. The Denver Mint, which struck the D quarters in 1982, produced hundreds of millions of coins. But due to rushed production and cost-saving measures, many of those coins were poorly struck. Soft details, uneven rims, and weak impressions are common. And because most people didn't save these coins, very few high-quality examples remain. That scarcity has created intense demand among collectors, especially those trying to complete a full set of Washington quarters in high grade. Some certified 1982 D quarters have sold at auction for more than $3,000, simply because they had a strong strike and near-flawless surfaces. Imagine that, $3,000 for a regular quarter from the Reagan era. But wait, it gets even wilder. What really makes this coin famous is its connection to a major and mysterious mint error. The 1982 D quarter struck on a copper planchet. That's right, the type of blank used for a penny. These incredible minting mistakes weren't supposed to happen, but somehow a few copper-cent blanks made their way into the quarter press. The result? A coin that looks like a red-toned quarter, weighs less than it should, and causes shock when it's discovered. In fact, one of these errors sold for an eye-popping $10,200 at auction, and it wasn't even in perfect condition. And here's the jaw-dropper. The extremely rare 1982 D Washington quarter struck on a nickel planchet. That's right, a coin meant to be a quarter. Accidentally struck on the wrong metal, blank entirely. These are nearly unheard of. They're smaller in size, lighter in weight, and they drive collectors absolutely crazy. One of these bizarre mint errors once sold for a staggering $450. Imagine holding what looks like a miscolored quarter, only to discover it's a one-in-a-million mistake worth more than a brand-new car. Now back to your coin. Yes, it's dark. Yes, it's seen better days. But never judge a coin by its surface. The black shading could be from oxidation, environmental exposure, or even chemical reaction with the coin's original metal. But look closer. Check the date, the rim, and the edges. Is it unusually thin? Does it feel too light? Could it have been struck on the wrong planchet? Even with damage, a rare error coin is still valuable. Collectors will pay well for these oddities, even in rough shape, because their rarity is what matters most. And don't forget, the 1982 D quarter is part of a turning point in coin production history. It marks the beginning of the Reagan era, economic changes, the downsizing of mint operations, and a moment when the U.S. Mint wasn't able to provide collectors with uncirculated coin sets. This coin, despite how it looks now, is a piece of history. It tells a story about inflation, about government budget cuts, and about how even the smallest, most ordinary things, like a quarter, can become valuable artifacts of their time. So, before you pass it off as scrap or spend it on a pack of gum, consider what might be hiding beneath that black surface. A wrong planchet, a strike error, a rare die variety. That's the beauty of coin collecting. Some of the biggest surprises are hiding in plain sight. And just when you think you've seen the most shocking example, the next coin might just break every rule you thought you knew. Stay with me, because what's coming up next might just be the quarter that turns into $35,000 overnight. You won't believe your eyes.